because I made these for social media, I'm gonna go over to press ready. No, yeah, I think I want press ready. Let me see. Yeah, I want this one for the web, and I'm gonna do social media square post 1080 by 1080. But then once I pick that one, I'm gonna switch it over to inches just because I prefer to work in inches than in pixels. That's just me personally. So let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I had to do was find my background. Now, I already have it saved in my assets because I was making multiple items with this background. But basically, all I did was I went to Google and I looked for a softball background, but I actually wanted our softball field at school. So this is the actual softball field from our high school. There was a few pictures online, but I actually ended up finding this one on our softball page's Instagram. So that's where this one came from, but Google will work just fine. There was a few, but I like this one the best. Because it was a game day graphic, I didn't want too much going on in the background because I didn't want it to take away from what I was creating. I also have two logos over here saved because this is our rival school, so we play them in every single sport. So I always have that logo there available as well. And then I have this one pulled out already just so I can pull our blue out of it. Um, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off right now because we don't need it. So originally I had it with the softball background just like this, but then I decided to put a color overlay over it. So basically I took the color that I filled over here and just put it over the picture just to make it like most definitely when you see it, it's baby blue. We're the only baby blue team here in town out of 20 plus high schools. So y'all gonna know this South High all day long. Um, I'm trying to remember. And then next I went with a trim. So I did a rectangle or a square. And let's go 7.25 by 7.25. I'm going to come up here to alignment and center it up. All right. And then I actually want to take out the fill color and I want to add a stroke because I just basically want a border. So let's do that. I aligned it to the outside and I put the order to behind. That's just a personal habit of mine. I always do that when I'm working with my strokes, unless it's something specific. But 99% of the time, my alignment is to the back and my alignment is to the outside and my order is to the back. So, all right, so we have that. Now this is still technically a rectangle shape, and I'm actually gonna make it a little bit smaller. So let's do 7 and let's center that up. Okay, because I do want to leave a little bit of a border. Now, this is still a rectangle shape technically. I just turned off the fill color. So if I were to fill it back in, that's what it would look like. But I want to add a gradient to the stroke. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to try to do this without my shortcuts because I know a lot of people, you won't be able to see me hit the keyboard, but sometimes I forget. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this to curves. There's a button up here, or you can right click and convert to curves. But as you can see, I have a shortcut here. All right, so now this is a curve. And then I'm going to go to layer and I am going to expand the stroke. And again, my shortcut is E. All right, so now I just have, it still looks the same, but now when I go to apply my gradient, I'm going to go from top to bottom. Okay, so now I'm applying the gradient to the actual stroke and not the middle of the rectangle. What did you do with the rectangle? So basically I removed the color. So I had no fill and I had a black stroke. Then I converted it to curves and then I expanded the stroke because I only wanted the outline. I did not want the center. So now this does not have a center at all. So this is the actual shape now. So if I were to flip this, you see this is the fill color. There's no more middle. I can't fill that in. Oops. Sorry. I guess my AirPod died. So if I were to flip it, now you see that it's a stroke of a stroke. So basically, this is my shape now, this hollowed out rectangle. Okay. All right. So let me grab that back. I'm gonna go back to my gradient tool. And now I'm gonna set the colors for my gradient. And I want it to kind of look like a metallic, like it's kind of shiny. So I'm gonna go white on the ends. So click the dot on the ends. They're both white. And then I'm gonna add a dot to the middle and I'm gonna make that one gray. Okay, and you can, as you can see, it's kind of like fading from dark gray to light gray to white. It kind of gives it like a metallic feel. If you were to add another gray at the top and the bottom with the white in between, it gives it more of a metal feel, but this was fine enough for me. Then I knew on the top and the bottom, I was going to add text. So I wanted to cut that out. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to add another rectangle. And the fill color doesn't really matter because we're going to fill it in. So let's go ahead and drop that in the center. And let's make it 5 inches wide. I'm gonna center it up. Actually, 5 is a little much. Let's do 4.5. Okay. But of course, I don't want it to be this blue because you can clearly see, like I want to blank out the line. And I could go and erase it, but I'm going to duplicate this. So over here in the layers panel, right click and duplicate. And then let's move that one all the way to the bottom. So now we're going to have these two cutouts. And now my background, I'm going to leave it where it is. I'm not going to move it, but I'm going to duplicate it twice. And now I'm going to go clip it into both of my rectangles. So I'm going to clip it into the top one and I'm going to clip it into the bottom one. And now because the background is in the same exact spot, it just looks like it took over the shape. So if I click here, let me take off the fill color. So that way I have no type of outline. So now it just looks like I was able to blank it out, but that rectangle is literally still there. So if I move it around, you can see it, but because I put it in place, do I center it? Yeah. And I dropped the background in there, it just looks like it's a part of the image now. All right. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions. All right, so next, let's build our baseball pennant basically. So all I did was I took a rectangle and let's fill it with black just so we can see it. And then I also took the triangle tool. You can do either the triangle tool or you can do, what's the other one? Or you can do the polygon tool and just set it to 3 sides. It's really up to you, but we're just going to use the triangle. So let's make this rectangle 2.5 wide. And then that way my triangle base can be 2.5. And I'm just going to flip this and then line them up together. Making sure, so let's center them up. There we go. Okay, and we just want to give it that little shape right there. So these overlap just a little. I'm going to grab both of them and I'm going to hit add to turn it into one shape. Now, I probably should have made my rectangle a little bit shorter, but it's already a curve, so I'm gonna grab my node tool, select both of these, and then oops, hold down shift, and I'm just gonna pull it down just a little bit because I don't want it to go that high up because my softball player is gonna stick out and I don't want it to go over the text. All right, so now let's center this up. We're just recreating the game day graphic that I made. All right, so let's duplicate this first before I start making changes. And let's turn off the top one. So you could go in and add a texture to it, but I couldn't find a texture that I really liked. So I'm gonna go to effects and I am going to add a color overlay. And I'm gonna use my color picker to go grab the blue that's over here. Okay, and I don't want it to just be a solid, so I'm gonna turn up the noise. Basically, this is gonna give it some texture. So when I turn up the noise, you can see it kind of makes it look like here's with zero noise. It's nice and smooth. And that just kind of gives it a little bit of texture. So that's all I did there. All right, so let me turn this one back on. And now we're gonna manipulate this one to be our outline. So let's swap this. We want that to be the stroke. Whoops. Let me grab the black one. Let's turn this into the stroke. And let's just do a 3 for now, just to see. Again, mine is always aligned to the outside and to the back. And now I'm going to manipulate my nodes. Holding shift, I'm just going to bring it. Oops. Let me grab this whole thing. Let me redo. All right, let me shrink this down a little bit. Okay, so here you can see, take that one out because it wasn't overlapping properly. So let me zoom over, take out this extra node. Boom, there we go. Now it's all cleaned up, which I can do the same on this one since I made a copy of it. So that means this one is exactly the same. Okay. Now we're back on this one. Let's turn it into the stroke. Let's do it 3. Oh, let's do it 2. That's a little bit thick. All right. So now I kind of have to line it up. I can't just keep shrinking it and have it line up correctly. So I'm gonna have to play with the nodes a little bit. So let me grab my nodes. And I'm gonna grab both of them, hold shift, so that way they will move together. And then now I'm gonna grab this one, move it out just a little bit, holding shift so it moves in a straight line. And then move this one over a little bit. Oops. And then let me bring these down. And then I just want to lock this so it's straight and make sure this one is straight. All right, there we go. And then I made this white. All right. Let's move this. We're going to make it just a little bit wider because this is where I'm going to add my game info. So let me grab my notes and let's make this a little bit wider. So come up a little bit more, make it look more like home plate. There we go. All right. I'm gonna move these over just a little. And these two. All right. There we go. Yeah, we have some leftovers. We have leftovers. All right, so we could turn these two off for now, and let's grab our text tool. Let's see, what did you do with the black shape? You made it a, yes, so I took out the fill color and just turned it into a stroke. So this one here, instead of making it a fill, it's just a stroke. So I just turned it into a stroke. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our text. And let's do, well, let's do capitals. Senior night. Since we already have game day, we'll do senior night. And the font that I used was Go Go Poster Punch. I don't even know where I got this from, probably the font. Let's shrink it down a little bit. That's like yeah, yeah, we haven't ate nothing for tonight. Just just a little bit earlier. All right, so this will be my back font. We're gonna make it blue. Let me go ahead and duplicate it. So right click, duplicate. Let's turn off the back one. And now this one, we're going to make it hollowed, but not just with a stroke. So we're gonna go to effects. Let me slide this over so y'all can see. And there's my effects panel. So let's add an outline. Right. And then we also want to add an inner, on the outline, we're going to go ahead and go to fill opacity at the bottom. And let's turn it all the way off. And then let's go to the inner shadow. Let me zoom in so y'all can see what's happening. So you can see there, let's turn up the radius to kind of blur it out a little bit. And then the intensity. Okay. And then we're also going to add an outer shadow. We're going to leave that one at 50%. Okay. So let's bring my stroke down just a little to about a 7. All right. So, I mean, that right there looks pretty decent. You can just have the field kind of shining through. But because we are going to layer the player in between, that's why we have this back layer. So now you can kind of see like my glow in the back layer. Okay. So then I can turn these layers back on, because otherwise if I turn this off, there you go. You're going to see that behind it. All right, now let's bring in our photo. Basically I already had a photo where I took the background out. So let me just grab somebody. Let's see. 15. I'll grab her. So let's zoom out a little bit. I actually need to, let me turn her off. I need to grab my, And let me grab my senior night and move it up a little bit. Let me move my notes. Pull these down because I do want to be able to see them. There we go. And then let me grab my senior night. All right, there we go. All right, turn my picture back on. So I want my picture in between my two text layers. So I'm going to move it back one. And let me enlarge her because I want her head to sit above, about right there. And then I'm going to, you can fade her out. So you can use your transparency tool and fade from the waist down. Or if you don't want to do that, we can take that one off and we can just crop it. And just crop up to the bottom of the base. Make sure I get there. So let me zoom in. So crop right there to the base. And then you want to just make sure this is in front. So let's move it forward 2 spaces. So that way it's like her legs are behind it. So either one works, just depends on the style that you're going for. But again, if I turn off the back senior, this is why I turned it on. So it kind of highlights her being in between the text and not just the background. So we're gonna turn that back on. But let me grab this color blue. I feel like my blue is a little too light. Oops, I clicked on the wrong item. Undo. Let me click on my senior text. So there we go. Let me go back to my overlay here and grab the new blue. So I felt like that one was a little bit too light. And then turn the noise back up. Oops. Matches her uniform a little better. And then grab my background and apply the new color. There we go. Which means I have to go to my 2 rectangle images and change those background colors. You can see up here, it no longer matches, same down there because I changed the color. So you just got to remember wherever you did it at, you got to change it in all the spots. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. So let's zoom out. And then I'm going to grab my back text, make a copy. We're going to turn it to white. And this one is, let's say March 15th is my date. And then because I don't want to do all the steps all over again, I'm just making copies of these. So Control J is duplicate. So this one is, we're gonna say 9 a.m. game. Oops, I did not mean to rotate it. Shrink that down. All right, before I shrink it, come over to stroke, click on scale with object, go to my effects, click on scale with object. And since we're already in here, let's turn it white. And let's shrink it down. And let's go back to this one. I knew something looked weird about it, so this should be white as well. I don't know why I had it as black. And where did my senior text go? Oh, I made a copy. I thought I made a copy, but apparently I didn't. So let's just copy this one. Let's take off all of the effects behind it. When I made the copy to do the March text, I didn't actually make a copy. I ended up changing my original text. Okay, there we go. The white looks so much better with the white outline and the black shadow. That's how it's supposed to be. And then let's duplicate this one. And this will be a home game. I love that font. Do you mind sharing the name? Yes, it's Go Go Poster Punch. And I'm pretty sure I got it off of the font. I usually remember the names or recognize the names of the fonts I paid for. So if not, just Google Go Go Poster Punch, and I'm sure it's on the free site. All right, so there, I'm gonna grab all three of these, go to my alignments and space vertically so that they're even. All right, let's grab, oh, we can turn our logo back on, not that big. Put it over here in the corner. Go back to my assets, pull in the other logo. This is so they know who they're playing against. I kind of just line them up on top of each other to get the sizing similar. And then slide this one over here. What am I missing? All right, so we're gonna grab this one, Control J to duplicate again. And at the bottom, I think I did South High softball, but we're gonna do Spartans softball just to switch it up a little. And that's gonna fit in our gap that we created earlier. Okay, so I don't want it all the way to the end, but this is why I said earlier. So I'm gonna grab my rectangle and move it up just a little. Not that much, like right there. And we can shrink this down a little bit. And then let's add some effects to this because we don't want it to be plain. So back to my layers, effects. Let's add a bevel. Not that much. We could change to, I kind of like the pillow. Kind of looks like it's embedded in there, but let's just do 5. And let's throw a black stroke to kind of set it off a little bit. So to the back border, and let's increase it just a little, not that much. Let's do a 1. All right. My screen, that's the glow on the outside. Let's make it black. And let's increase this a little. There we go. All right, so that stands out. And because we don't want to do all of that again, we can actually swap the colors too to see. But I like it with the white better. Let's duplicate it. And let's move it to the top. And it still has the same effects. So now we're going to change let me lock her in place so we're not grabbing that. And what's their slogan this year? Our blood, our sweat, your tears is their slogan this year. Oops. Oops. All right. And then let's resize this. To fit, let me center it. Just a little over. And then I'm gonna grab this here. We already have a color overlay, but let's do an outer shadow just to help it stand out from the background. So let's go to outer shadow and add that. We can increase, and then as we increase the radius, it kind of blurs it. Let's bring the offset down just a little. And then increase the intensity, darkens it up a little bit. And let's do the same to this text, just to add a little. Actually, let's see what a glow looks like on this one. Let's do a black glow instead of a shadow. But I think I would prefer, oh, let's go to multiply. Bring down the intensity, bring down the radius. I just want it to be real subtle. Oh, let me go back to that. Click on scale with object. And now I'm gonna, because I'm in Affinity 2, I can just click and drag this to the home and it'll apply the same effects. And I'm gonna click and drag it to the, but I'm gonna bring it down on this one because I don't want it to be that strong. Just very slight. And let's do an inner shadow on that. No, just the outer blue. All right. And there you have it. I missed the beginning. Are you gonna say, yeah, this one will be saved for a little bit. I say that and then I never come back and delete them. No, I'm actually in Affinity. Sorry, I just saw the question that said, is this Photoshop? This is actually Affinity. Yeah, sorry. I just went back and saw that one. Yes, this is Affinity. So really that's it. I mean, like I said, you can play around with this if you want to swap it. If you want it to be blue, like you can do that too. To set it off a little, you can do, let me pull this down. We can do that inner shadow again, just a slight one. Ooh, very little. Let's increase that. You can change the angle of the shadow, but it's really up to you, like what you want to do with it. Put that back to black. I'm actually going to take off the inner shadow. You can grab your softball player. Oh, I have her locked. Let me unlock her. And if you want to add a little bit of a glow, so an outer glow, you can grab the blue color if you like and make it glow that color. Let's go to multiply. So it's very subtle, but if I do a glow, I typically do, whoops, typically do the white. And then let's go back to screen. Bring down the intensity a little bit. Okay, if you don't prefer the glow, but the thing is you just want to add a little separation between her and the pennant. So just a little bit. So let's add an outer shadow. So as you can see, the radius, that's too far of a radius. Let's turn it up to 100. And then blur it out some. And then intensify it a little bit. Let's bring this down to like a 6.5, or even a 6. And it kind of just adds that separation, that extra layer. Okay, because I like that one, let me click scale with object. I want to go to edit, copy, and then I'm going to click on the senior night text, the background one. Let's see, where is it? And you see, when I made that new text, you see how it's on top of my softball player, so you can't see her in between anymore. I need to drop this down. So drop it down behind her. So now she's there, and then I'm going to go to edit, paste effects. So basically now, there we go. And there you have it. That was quick and easy, right?